First Contact and Betrayal. The obsidian vessels of the Valtteri Collective descended through Earth's atmosphere with mathematical precision on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Across the globe, humans stopped and stared skyward as these massive ships, each nearly 2 kilometers in length, positioned themselves above major population centers. Their hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, creating strange shadows that seemed to bend reality around them. For 72 hours, they simply observed. No communications, no hostile actions, just silent, patient watching. News networks broadcast continuous footage as military forces worldwide maintained high alert. Religious groups gathered in prayer. Scientists worked frantically to establish contact protocols, and ordinary people wondered if life would ever be the same again. On the 4th day, they finally spoke. Every electronic device on Earth simultaneously displayed the same message. We are the Valtteri. We bring knowledge and friendship. We wish to speak. Commander Elena Reyes had spent 20 years in diplomatic service before being appointed Earth's primary representative to the aliens. At 48, with steel-gray hair cropped short and eyes that missed nothing, she had navigated conflicts across 6 continents. Nothing had prepared her for this moment. Remember, we represent all of humanity today, she told her small team as they prepared to enter the neutral meeting facility constructed overnight in Geneva. Be respectful but cautious. We know nothing about their true intentions. The Valtteri delegation emerged from a shimmering portal that materialized within the meeting chamber. They moved with liquid grace, their bodies tall and slender with multiple limbs that seemed to flow rather than bend. Their skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with their movements. Most striking were their eyes. Enormous, faceted organs that reflected light in prismatic patterns. "I am Nexus Guide Valves," announced the foremost alien. Its voice a harmonious blend of tones that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in the mind. "We have searched long to find your world." The initial negotiations progressed smoothly. The Valtteri offered revolutionary medical technologies, sustainable energy systems, and agricultural advancements. In exchange, they requested only cultural exchange rights and permission to establish learning centers to study Earth's diverse ecosystems and societies. "Your planet presents a unique tapestry," Nexus Guide Valves explained during the 5th meeting. "In our explorations of 12 galactic sectors, we have never encountered such biological and cultural diversity compressed within a single biosphere. We wish to learn from you." Within months, Valtteri learning centers were established globally. Their medical technologies had already eradicated several previously incurable diseases, and their energy systems promised to reverse climate change within a decade. Most world leaders embraced the partnership, though a small contingent of nations maintained cautious distance. Dr. Meera Patel, leading xenobiologist at the International Science Consortium, noticed something curious about the Valtteri learning centers. "They've requested extraordinary access to our educational facilities," she remarked during a research briefing, adjusting her glasses as she scrolled through data, particularly elementary schools with children between ages 5 and 12. Their interest seems remarkably specific. Her supervisor, Dr. Harmon, dismissed her concerns. "They've been transparent about this interest. They're studying how humans develop reasoning skills. Their species matures differently. They find our childhood development fascinating." Unconvinced, Dr. Patel began tracking Valtteri movements independently, noting patterns in their visits and requests. Meanwhile, the aliens' presence expanded, their observers becoming familiar figures in schools worldwide. Children were naturally drawn to them, especially when they demonstrated small technological marvels, holographic animals that responded to thought, small objects that defied gravity, and lights that danced to emotions. 4 months after learning centers were established, the first children disappeared. 3 students vanished overnight from a small town in northern Finland. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses. They simply weren't in their beds when their parents checked on them in the morning. Local authorities launched an investigation, but found nothing. 2 weeks later, 5 more children disappeared from a coastal village in Vietnam. Then 7 from a suburb in Argentina. All locations where Valtteri educational teams had recently conducted what they called cultural aptitude assessments. Dr. Patel connected these patterns quickly, but found her reports ignored by government officials. The official stance remained that the Valtteri were valuable allies whose contributions were transforming human society. Until the night, the Kimura family security system captured something undeniable. Their 8-year-old daughter, Hannah, had vanished. But unlike previous disappearances, their home security system had recorded the event. The footage showed a beam of silver-blue light entering through Hannah's bedroom window at 3:17 a.m. Moments later, the small figure of their daughter floated out through the same window, suspended in that light, her expression peaceful as if in deep sleep. Before authorities could suppress it, the Kimuras released the footage online. It spread globally within hours. More families installed cameras, and more evidence accumulated. Always the same pattern, always children who had been assessed by Valtteri observers. Dr. Patel finally gained an audience with Commander Reyes, bringing her complete research files. They're selecting specific children, she explained, spreading her evidence across Reyes' desk. Children with particular neural patterns. It's not random, it's harvesting. Commander Reyes studied the patterns, her face growing increasingly grim. If you're right, we've invited predators into our homes. She stared through the window at a distant Valtteri ship hovering on the horizon. But why? What could they possibly want with our children? The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior Valtteri cultural liaison named Vex Minor sought out Dr. Patel privately. Smaller than most Valtteri, and with paler bioluminescence, Vex Minor had worked closely with human scientists for months. I cannot participate in this deception any longer, Vex Minor said, its voice patterns indicating distress. Your children possess something precious, neural plasticity combined with creative reasoning that is unique in the known galaxy. What are you doing with them? Dr. Patel demanded, her voice barely controlled. My people are dying, Vex Minor replied. Our neural networks have degraded after millennia of technological enhancement. We cannot innovate, cannot create, cannot adapt. Your children's minds are compatibility matches for our systems. Dr. Patel felt horror spreading through her body. You're taking our children to use as what? Processing nodes. Living computers. The integration is considered humane by our standards. Vex Minor replied, not meeting her gaze. They retain consciousness, but serve a greater purpose. That same night, rural areas across 6 continents reported the same phenomenon. Valtteri scout vessels descending after midnight, beams of light entering homes, more children vanishing. Dr. Patel's evidence combined with Vex Minor's testimony finally forced the United Nations to confront the truth. Commander Reyes faced Nexus Guide Vals in an emergency session broadcast worldwide. You came as friends and took our children, Reyes said, her voice steady despite her rage. This is an act of war against every human on Earth. Nexus Guide Val's skin darkened to a deep violet, its bioluminescent patterns accelerating. You misunderstand. We offer your offspring elevation, purpose beyond their primitive existence. The Valtteri collective extends across multiple galactic arms. Your resistance is meaningless. As the Valtteri delegation departed, their ships reconfigured. Weapon systems became visible on their hulls, previously hidden by sophisticated camouflage technology. The collective's true purpose was now revealed, and humanity faced a threat unlike any in its history, an advanced enemy that had come not for resources or territory, but for their children. Humanity united and fighting back. Major David Chen stared at the holographic map dominating the Situation Room beneath the Geneva complex. Each red dot represented a confirmed child abduction, over 3,000 now scattered across all continents. The blue markers indicated Valtteri Learning Center locations. The pattern was unmistakable. They're methodical, he told the assembled military leaders from 27 nations. Each abduction cluster occurs precisely 14 days after a learning center conducts assessments in the area. The room contained an unprecedented assembly of former adversaries, American generals seated beside Russian commanders, Chinese admirals conferring with Taiwanese counterparts, Indian and Pakistani military leaders reviewing strategy together. The abduction of children had accomplished what decades of diplomacy could not: unity in the face of an existential threat. "What assets do we have to counter their technology?" asked General Okonkwo of the Pan-African Defense Force. Dr. Patel stood, gesturing to her colleague Dr. Sanjay Mehta. "We've been analyzing residual energy signatures from abduction sites. Dr. Mehta has made a breakthrough." Dr. Mehta, a quantum physicist whose own niece had been taken, stepped forward. "The Volteri use quantum entanglement for their transport technology. The particles they leave behind remain connected to their source. Theoretically, we could use them to trace back to wherever they're taking the children, and potentially as a pathway to retrieve them," Dr. Patel added. Major Chen nodded. "How soon can you develop a working prototype?" "We already have," Dr. Mehta said, revealing a device resembling a silver sphere with intricate circuitry visible beneath its transparent sections. "This is the quantum tracer. It can detect and follow the entanglement pathway. We need to test it." Meanwhile, a global civilian resistance network had formed, sharing information about Volteri movements and possible abduction targets. The Kimura family, whose footage had exposed the truth, became symbols of the resistance. Mrs. Kimura addressed crowds worldwide via secure broadcasts. "They believed we would accept the loss of our children," she said, her voice strong despite her grief. "They do not understand what it means to be human. We will never stop fighting until every child comes home." Military forces worldwide implemented a new strategy. Rather than directly engaging the technologically superior Volteri vessels, they focused on protecting potential abduction targets and gathering intelligence. Families with children who matched the Volteri selection profile were relocated to secure underground facilities. Communities organized neighborhood watch programs with advanced detection equipment provided by Dr. Mehta's team. The first victory came unexpectedly. In a small town outside Kyoto, local defense forces equipped with prototype quantum disruptors detected a Volteri scout ship before it could activate its abduction beam. The resulting confrontation was brief but decisive. The disruptors interfered with the ship's propulsion system, forcing it to crash in an unpopulated forest area. The recovered vessel provided invaluable intelligence, including navigational data that revealed something crucial. The Volteri weren't taking the children to their ships in Earth orbit. They were transporting them to a processing facility hidden on the far side of the moon. "They'd been there all along," Major Chen told the Emergency Council, "using the moon as a shield to hide their main installation from our observation. That's where the children are being held before final transport off-world." The evidence prompted an unprecedented decision. Operation Homecoming would be humanity's first unified military action, a mission to the lunar facility to rescue the abducted children. 3,000 soldiers from dozens of nations trained together, while scientists and engineers worked around the clock to adapt Dr. Mehta's quantum technology for offensive use. The Chimeras and other families whose documentation had exposed the Volteri volunteered for a dangerous mission. They would use modified quantum tracers to establish direct links to their abducted children, creating pathways for the rescue teams to follow. "The Volteri believe humans are primitive and divided," Major Chen told the assembled rescue forces before deployment. "They fail to understand what humans will do for their children. Our differences mean nothing now. We have one mission: bring our children home and make the Volteri collective regret the day they targeted Earth." The night before the operation, Dr. Patel met with Vex Minor, who had been granted asylum in exchange for intelligence. "There is something you should know," the Volteri said, its luminescence dimmed to nearly nothing. "The children who have been integrated the longest. The process may not be reversible." Dr. Patel's heart sank. "How many?" "Perhaps the first 500 taken. The others." Vex Minor made a gesture approximating hope. There is a chance. Operation Homecoming launched under cover of a global electromagnetic pulse that temporarily disabled Valtteri observation systems. Using advanced stealth technology developed by combining human innovation with insights from the captured scout ship, 5 transport vessels carrying the International Rescue Force approached the lunar facility undetected. The facility itself was massive, a sprawling complex built into the lunar surface, invisible from Earth. Inside, the rescue teams found row upon row of integration pods, each containing a child connected to Valtteri neural systems by silver filaments that pulsed with energy. The battle for the facility was fierce. The Valtteri defenders fought with advanced weapons that manipulated gravity and phase-shifted to bypass conventional armor. But they hadn't anticipated the quantum disruptors, which severed their neural connections and disrupted their coordinated defense strategies. In the central processing chamber, Major Chen and Dr. Patel found what they had feared most: the first children taken, now deeply integrated into the Valtteri systems. Their bodies remained in suspension, but silver filaments penetrated their skulls, connecting directly to their brains. Monitoring systems showed intense neural activity. "They're using them as processing nodes," Dr. Patel whispered, horrified. Before they could determine how to proceed, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Valtteri fleet had detected the rescue operation and was returning to the moon in force. "We don't have time to disconnect them safely," Dr. Mehta said, examining the integrated children. The process would take hours for each child. Mrs. Kimura, who had insisted on joining the mission to find her daughter, made a decision. "Take the facility. All of it." "What do you mean?" Major Chen asked. "The entire module. It's designed to be transported. Look at the structural supports. We take the children home still connected, then find a way to free them properly on Earth." It was a desperate plan, but with Valtteri reinforcements approaching, they had no alternatives. The rescue teams secured the remaining children, those not yet fully integrated, while engineering teams worked to detach the central processing module from its lunar foundation. As the Valtteri fleet entered lunar orbit, the human transports lifted off, towing the massive processing module containing nearly 500 connected children. The remaining rescue forces provided cover, engaging the Valtteri vessels in the first direct space battle in human history. What they lacked in advanced technology, they made up for in tactical innovation and sheer determination. Quantum disruptors proved unexpectedly effective against Valtteri shields, creating momentary vulnerabilities that conventional weapons could exploit. As the module cleared lunar orbit, Nexus guide valves opened a communication channel to Major Chen's command vessel. "You cannot comprehend what you are interfering with," the Valtteri leader said. "These children serve a greater purpose than their individual lives. They will help preserve a civilization that has existed for millions of years." Major Chen's response was simple. "They're not yours to take." The battle lasted hours, but the human forces accomplished their objective. The processing module and all recovered children returned safely to Earth. The cost was high, with nearly a third of the rescue force lost in the fighting. On Earth, Dr. Patel and Dr. Mehta led a team of neuroscientists and engineers working to safely disconnect the integrated children. The process was painstaking and delicate, but after weeks of careful work, the first children, including Hana Kimura, opened their eyes. Their experiences would forever mark them. Many had awareness of what had happened, describing existence as part of a vast network where their creativity and adaptability had been harvested like a resource. Some retained unusual abilities, enhanced pattern recognition, intuitive understanding of complex systems, and occasional glimpses of Valtteri knowledge. The Valtteri collective withdrew their remaining vessels to the outer solar system, but did not leave entirely. Humanity knew this was merely a respite, not a final victory. The threat remained, but so did a new global unity forged in resistance. 6 months after Operation Homecoming, representatives from every nation gathered at the newly established Earth Defense Headquarters. The processing module, now repurposed as a research facility, had yielded crucial insights into Volteri technology and vulnerabilities. Major Chen, now General Chen, addressed the assembly. The Volteri believed us primitive, divided, and easy prey. They thought we would sacrifice our future, our children, for short-term technological gains. They were wrong. He gestured to a holographic display showing a network of orbital defense platforms under construction and the first human vessels built with adapted Volteri technology. They came for our children and found instead what humanity truly is when united. We will secure our solar system. We will develop our own path forward. And we will ensure that no species ever again mistakes our compassion for weakness or our children for resources to be harvested. As he spoke, in research facilities worldwide, the recovered children worked with scientists to develop new technologies based on their unique insights. The very qualities that had made them targets, creativity, adaptability, and unconventional thinking, now powered humanity's greatest technological leap forward. The Volteri had sought to exploit humanity's greatest treasure. Instead, they had awakened a unified human species that would soon take its place among the stars, not as victims or subjects, but as equals to be reckoned with.